Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel Among in Cloud. Today, I'm thrilled to welcome Sourav Bera, a dynamic solutions architect at Microsoft who wears many hats. He's a mentor, he's a machine learning researcher, and an advocate for diversity in technology. With the passion for cloud computing, AI, and blockchain, Sourav has been making waves in the technology community from winning prestigious hackathons to mentoring the next generation of coders. So, in this podcast episode, let's dive into his journey and the innovative solutions that he is creating at Microsoft as a cloud solutions architect. Hey Saurav, thanks for joining on a Saturday evening, and I know it's a weekend for everyone here. Thanks for accepting the invite. Firstly, on your busy schedule, and without wasting much time, let's go ahead and get started with this. Would you like to introduce yourself to my audience on this channel?
Sure, Yashwant. And first of all, thanks for inviting me. Glad to be featured on this channel, and definitely looking forward to share a lot of insights with you. Hey everyone, my name is Sourav Bera, and I'm a cloud solution architect at Microsoft. Now, this cloud solution architect is something which might be familiar to many, but also some many of you might not know. I work on Azure, and I develop solutions on a high level design for customers and Microsoft. What about after the life at Microsoft? I'm also a community speaker. I'm a hackathon enthusiast. I'm also a researcher. Feel free to connect if you are on some research project, or if you want me to speak at some panel. I would be more than happy. I love sharing my knowledge as well as gain knowledge from others. That's how we learn. Yeah.
Sure, that's nice, very nice introduction. In fact, I've been following you on LinkedIn, since a while now, and I see your content is really good, and you're doing amazing job when it comes to the community contribution in cloud and DevOps space. Also, I'll make sure to drop your LinkedIn, profile in the description box below, so that viewers can check your profile and reach out to you. When we talk about this cloud solutions architect, so there is one question that comes to my mind every time. So, what does a typical, day look like as a solutions architect at Microsoft, and what are your key responsibilities that you juggle on? Can you share your insights on that?
Okay. This is a good question, actually. A typical day at a life of cloud solution architect. Okay, so let me be generic on this term and give you a glimpse onto my day-to-day schedule and how do we work. As a solution architect, we are supposed to be the trusted advisor for our company that we are working upon, as well as our customers to whom we engage to. What do you mean by this trusted advisor? Trusted advisor just means like this. If you have to erect a building and you get some requirements, maybe the capacity of number of floors that need to be placed in. There should be a parking lot with this capacity. There should be a number of people who should have, and the building should have the capacity to hold these many people. Or maybe over the period of time, the area is also prone to flood or some other disaster. We should ensure that the building should sustain at least for 20 years or more than that. So how do we plan for it? That is where the design planning comes into the picture, right? As a solution architect, on a layman's term, we design scalable as well as functional architectures as well as solutions for the customers as well as internal Microsoft. A huge part of my time is invested onto designing those high-level design architectures, validating them as well as getting them implemented at the customer's end. We don't directly do hands-on, but yes, the entire HLD setup or the entire blueprint designing of the architecture is something that we carry on. And I do love the job that I do.
Great. That's a very beautiful example, I would say. Like, till now, trust me, I did not know what is exactly a trusted advisor and what is the responsibility of them. I know that I can read the job description, but with the example, it would be more clear. And I think the viewers are very happy about that. And could you share your journey? How did it started, and how did you got into this role? Did you get it selected in the campus itself, or did you make it through some other way? Can you share your insights on that as well?
Sure, Yashwant. So, okay, talking about my journey, so I was a direct campus hire, but for people, it might be different. So, I'll share a generic, experience that many of people among us professionals, especially, would relate to. So, when you get hired for a solution architect role, people usually have a tendency in their mind that, hey, I should have the learning on Azure, or maybe should have an understanding on AWS or GCP. Now, the first myth that needs to be breaking over here is that when you talk about solution architect, it's platform agnostic. So you should have an idea of maybe all the threes or maybe one of them, but you're not supposed to have a hard coded or a fixed mindset with learning on a particular platform. That's where a trusted advisor also comes into the picture. So if there is a solution that is available on maybe AWS or Azure and not on GCP, so that's where you suggest the best possible solution to the customer. That's one aspect of it. Now, the second is that once you already have a knowledge of one of the platform, you can easily correlate and map it to the other platform. The features might vary a bit, but you can easily relate. The underlying architecture remains the same. So just to give you an idea, more talking about the interview experience, it might be a first run of basic coding or a logical building or design kind of design setup, system design interview. And the second might be more on projects that you have done. And the talking points over here should be more upon the design, the idea that you had incorporated while you were trying to build that idea. The emphasis might not be on the low level design, but the emphasis would be more upon how did you plan for that solution, or how did you, design the solution altogether so that it meets all the NFRs that are required. And when I talk about NFIs, it's non-functional requirements. The third round of interview might be on specific platform that you might know. And again, this is very agnostic. So you can directly say to the interview that, hey, I'm someone who has worked on this particular platform. I can easily learn a particular other platform easily, but currently I am limited to this particular thing. So the interview would be okay to ask you specific questions on that platform itself. That's not an issue to altogether, and you can call it out yourself. Specifically, there are scenarios wherein I have seen that there are case studies that is provided to the interviewee, and you will be given an example of a customer scenario with given requirements, and those requirements are usually very lean requirements that you need to fulfill in. And now they seek your approach. How do you design that solution? And it could be a solution that could include the AI, the data, the apps, and the infrastructure as well. So it could be altogether a combined solution. Now, the idea behind to give you such a holistic and a broad example would be to get an idea upon how do you think, how do you, break down a big challenge into small sheets, and then you get those things solved. Also, one more thing is that even if I'm not someone who's not experienced on data, or maybe if I'm someone who is not experienced on infra, how do I tackle or how do I brainstorm on those particular areas as well? A basic understanding is something that we already have. Now, let's put those understanding and the knowledge that we have into ideas and get things done. That's what the interview talks about. So it's more on an approach and how do you think rather than actually implementing things done. Yeah.
I think that's a clear breakdown of the interviews and what should be focused on. So, following up on the previous question itself, so could you please let us know, let's say I am breaking into this cloud solutions role, what are the key focus areas or key skills and experiences that I should be having in order for me to become a cloud solutions architect?
Sure. So could you just repeat the question once again? I just missed a part of it.
So let's say for the viewers who are aspiring to become a cloud solutions architects, what are the key focus skills or the experiences that they should possess in order for them to become a cloud solutions architect?
Okay, so again, the requirement or the expectations when you are applying for a cloud solution architect role might vary diversely when you are applying to it based on the level of experience or the level to which you are applying to. It's just like a software engineering role that you have different set of expectations for different levels. So I would talk it in a generic manner, and I'll just maybe divide it into two categories for freshers and for experience. So for freshers, when you're applying for a solution architect role, it's mostly focused on what things have you done in college. Okay, and when I talk about things, it's mainly on your personal projects. A part of it is majorly also 50% of the interviews are focused on coding, and you don't get those very rigorous codings, but at least you should have logic building capacity. That's one. Second is your personal projects. Now, how do they rate the personal projects to the solution architect role? That's a very interesting thing, and that is something that happens with me as well. So ideally, they pick up one of the other project that you have built, and those projects are something that they kind of consider that this can be scaled. Okay, now they'll probe you with a lot of questions. Hey, don't you think the security of the solution is compromised? Or maybe if it's an application, so don't you think the backend of the solution might not be able to handle more than 1,000 users? How do you plan to scale it out? And that's where they will kind of probe you with a lot of questions. They'll try to identify, do you have an idea, or do you have a backup plan set up in case the number of users or the traffic increases? Or if the security is compromised, what is your approach to get it resolved? Or what is your approach to harden the security, lessen the surface area of attacks? It could be more on if you have to modernize your legacy application or a application that you have built to maybe some other platform. How would you do so? So these are typical things that they would ask. Again, the expectation is not that high. They don't want you to be technical, but actually want to probe you with a lot of questions to understand how do you approach things. That's for a fresher, and it's very straightforward. While when you get into experience and you're applying as an experienced professional, the expectations gets very high. So okay, when you are an experienced professional, the interview goes like this, and this is something that I have seen the interviews for various companies, and that's what my experience talks about. So when you are an experienced professional and you are applying for a solution architect role, the first thing that they look upon, have you also worked on designing or developing HLD for an application rather than just implementing LD, or maybe the low level design or the abstract classes, or maybe something and so on and so forth. The idea is to see, and usually these are done by people who are more on a senior position, maybe a principal software engineer, or a software engineer 2 or 3. Usually a software engineer 1 works on the low level design, the low level coding and developing of the entire code framework. Okay, so the idea behind that's the first thing that they look upon. Now they also probe you with a lot of questions. I talked about the case studies that they ask about. Okay, I don't think for an experienced folk you will really have a coding round, but they'll definitely have a rigorous system design round, wherein they'll ask you to design the HLD for a solution. Maybe if you have an understanding of cloud solutions or cloud services, they'll ask you to design and use those cloud services. Or if not, they'll ask you to generically use the services like Nginx, load balancers and stuff like that, maybe a traffic manager or a load balancer solution, something like that, to design an HLD of a solution. And it could be as generic as possible. The idea is to just see your approach and how do you brainstorm on a solution. How do you break the problem and get it done? A very key important aspect over here I would talk about is that experience with designing architectures is number one. Second, experience with building and implementing architecture is second, because designing is one aspect. Implementing them to the ground level is a different approach altogether. So if you understand those nuances and integrities of how and HLD design is being implemented as a lower level design, that adds a brownie points to your profile. The third thing would be obviously the learning on one of the cloud platform that is preferred, but again, that's not a mandatory requirement for you. The fourth would be maybe how well do you understand requirements? So cloud solution architect role could be also not directly, but a part of it could be also mapped to a consultant role. While you have to understand those requirements, and just a consultant would jot down the requirements, you have to really probe into deeper of it, that if this is a requirement, why do you require this amount of why do you require this exact requirement? You have to understand the customer's perspective, you have to dive deep into it and understand why a particular thing is being implemented. So having those things in place is really helpful. Again, during the system design interview rounds, I've seen people with those requirements just being listed, they get started brainstorming. A very important part they miss over here is that you also need to probe the interviewer that, hey, this is a requirement. Maybe if a VM requires some amount of cache memory, what is the exact workload that you intend to run on this VM? Or maybe if there is a virtual network that is peered to a maybe on premise, so what is the bandwidth requirement for that peering or something like that? So
Right.
so on and so forth.
Right. So thank you so much. I think you explained for a fresherman and also for an experienced person what will be the route for freshers and what will be the route for experienced person. In fact, I divided them into separate questions, but I think the second question can be ignored for now. Thank you so much for that. And I heard that coding is also required. So is coding an essential part of your role as a cloud solutions architect? If so, how much of it would you be, working on a daily basis? Can you share some?
Okay. Okay, so maybe I'll put it like this. Coding is not the primary focus. It's not the primary focus at all. But it is essential for creating automation scripts. It is essential for writing maybe infrastructure as a code, or writing some scripts that get some down work, some automation scripts or something like that. It could be anything. It could be just implementing a script to hardening the virtual machines,
Okay.
right? Or performing some sort of a monitoring data collection task, or it could be performing some troubleshooting. So in a gist, as a solution architect, I won't recommend you to have a very strong coding profile. You don't need those data structures algorithm, but at least the minimalistic uh, I mean, minimalistic knowledge of those languages. Primarily, it would be Linux, it would be Windows, PowerShell. It would be, obviously, when you talk about Linux commands, Bash. Okay. Infrastructure as a code, it could be infrastructure as a code. It could be anything. Ideally, people prefer Terraform. It could be ARMS. It could be Bicep. It could be any other thing. It could be CloudForm. Again, also, one important aspect is when you are writing those scripts, usually those are usually very long scripts. Okay, I see the code quality is something that is compromised while we are trying to develop those scripts. So something that maybe would add a brownie point to your profile if you have the experience of writing good code. That's one. And second is optimized code. So when you have limited resources and there are a lot of processes running, you don't want the entire resource to be overwhelmed with a lot of processes running within it, right? So maybe if you are able to write optimized code, that is also a good approach. But that's not a very important or a very mandatory requirement for you.
Right. Thanks for pointing it out clearly. So, as a cloud engineer or a DevOps engineer, so majorly our time would be focused on automating few manually tasks that we are doing on a day-to-day basis. So it's very important to minimize our code and also utilize the resources whatever that we have. For example, let's say you are starting a virtual machine and you need some packages to be installed and you use something called as init scripts or things like that. There you cannot dump a huge amount of script which will take more time, but you need to do all the automations and things within a limited time of frame.
Exactly.
So that's where your thinking and understanding of the code will comes into picture. Thanks for bringing that up. And with ever evolving technologies like this in a cloud and DevOps space or a solutions architect space, how do you keep yourself updated to in order for you to work on cloud solutions at Microsoft? Can you share your insights on that?
Okay. Okay. So maybe just before starting this podcast, I was having this discussion with Yashant that, hey, I want to ramp up on a lot of skills and a lot of technologies, and these are in my bucket list since long. So I tell you, as a solution architect, none of the days goes boring. You every day you bring up with a lot of new challenges. Every day you have to work on a separate new requirement, and each requirement might demand some additional skills that you might not have. Now, with the ever evolving technology and the innovations that is happening on cloud, there are 480 plus services on cloud, and still it's evolving over the period of time. Just try to understand the sentiment of a cloud solution architect. He would be overwhelmed with the amount of learning that needs to be carried out. So maybe, okay, what is my strategy to keep myself updated with the evolving cloud technologies? Well, I really feel the time is very less. The time is actually very less, but I keep myself updated. And I acknowledge that I cannot learn everything with that depth. Maybe I am specialized in one, but I have to cover, or maybe holistically cover a lot of technologies. Maybe everything that is on cloud as a solution architect. So I stay updated with a lot of sources. So there are a lot of if you are active on LinkedIn, you will be able to find a lot of tech talks that you can attend. There are a lot of webinars, offline and online, wherein a lot of solution architects, a lot of PMs, a lot of engineers talk about a solution that they have built. So you get to connect with them. You get to get the idea on a high level, and maybe that kind of sparks you the intent to go deeper into it yourself. So that works for me, and this is something that I apply. Also, a good way to get yourself updated is also, so I am someone who keeps on checking kubernetes.io or ak.ms/learn, okay, or some other websites which I have to dwell regularly. So just keeping myself updated is something that I do by going through those websites. Also, very good. One thing I just missed is writing blogs. When you kind of or writing blogs or creating your own videos for sharing those technical contents is something that is really helpful. Now imagine you are keeping yourself updated, but how does the community overall know about the progress that has been done? Okay, now that's very effective when people start writing blogs. I've seen as a community, when you start writing blogs, you kind of share your knowledge. Maybe someone else who is maybe experienced in some other technology or maybe some other field also shares the knowledge, and kind of it's a mutual sharing that happens across a community. That's an effective way for you to get started on a new technology, maybe AI, security, or whatsoever. A very also important way to keep yourself updated with technologies is doing hands-on practice with the newest technology. Get yourself access to those newest technologies in whatever form or shape you can. There are times when there are constraints, but you have to, if you get that hands on, trust me, that's the best thing that we can have. And obviously, I can't emphasize more. We have to keep ourselves updated. Otherwise, things become obsolete. So, yeah.
Right. I can't agree more with you on that topic when it comes to upskilling. So you have pointed it right, and the thing is, the technology space is ever evolving, and community-based learning is one thing that even I got advised when I was starting as a cloud or DevOps engineer. So think like this way: if you're a coder, you have platforms like Lead Code and things like that to showcase your skill set. But for a solutions engineer or a solutions architect or a cloud engineer, where do you go and spread your word about?
Exactly.
So that's where my mentor asked me to create videos or create blogs, and so that it can help others as well, and helps getting traction of the recruiters as well. So talking about recruiters now, can you share your insights on the recruitment process, what happens at Microsoft for this particular
Mhm.
role, and what sets a successful candidate apart from the rest of the folks? We are talking about
Can
the
you just? Mhm.
recruitment process at Microsoft. And what is
Okay.
one key thing that you identify with a successful person with the rest of the folks?
Okay, so again, the recruitment process at Microsoft is, and I won't be, I mean, very specific to Microsoft, but I've seen this as a common pattern across the major tech giants, I mean, who offer the cloud offerings. So, be it AWS, Google, or Microsoft. So, the recruitment process is very thorough and in deep for sure. The focus is more on technical expertise. It A part of it might be on the business as well, but a major focus as an architect is on technical expertise. The previous experiences, if you are professional, does counts a lot. So do emphasize on the work that you have done. um, your logical thinking abilities adds a brownie points for sure. Your logical thinking abilities also counts to the way you brainstorm and get those individual puzzles combined to solve get an entire application running all together. Okay, you might not be very deep, or you might not be very proficient in implementing, or you have not implemented an architecture altogether. When I talk about architecture, it could be an application implementing an hands-on application altogether, but at least some experiences with building some functionalities adds weightage to your experience. So having that idea is very important. And when you articulate about your experiences, do articulate, as I already said, do articulate on how you kind of focused on developing or maybe erecting or planning out the entire architecture and not just a particular functionality. You can talk about that, hey, this is something that I implemented myself, but I was also a part of the entire planning stage when the application was being developed on a high level design. This gives you an understanding, and talk about those pointers that, hey, this was something that was planned, but I kind of suggested this, which kind of added these extra functionalities, or some maybe this has an extra features that can add maybe to disaster recovery, or maybe harden these positioning of the application to a more secure state, so on and so forth. So you can add those pointers, which actually brings a lot of weightage to what you talk. And also, as a solution architect, I cannot miss this point.
Mhm.
You have to be very customer centric. You have to be empathetic, and your communication skill does matter.
Right.
So if you are someone who is kind of, I won't say, okay, I cannot call that word over here, but if you are someone who kinds of loves working isolated, who kinds of loves working on a particular thing, maybe just himself, not a team player, maybe solution architect role is not the perfect choice for you.
Agreed. Agreed. So to make it even more simpler, if you do not like to talk, then this is not for you, is what you're trying to say. Great.
Yeah.
That's good to know. And I think in the previous answer, you were talking about Kubernetes and certifications and things like that. So, how important is to have certifications like CKA, CKAD, or Azure certifications? I think you have been certified on all three certifications of Kubernetes. How it is helping you in cloud solutions architect role, and is it really important to have that certifications in order for me to work as a cloud solutions architect?
Okay, so here is my perspective, and again, no controversies on this. I'm not a certification fan, but I feel as a solution architect, certifications are important as they kind of add a validation to your knowledge and commitment to a particular technology. Right? These certifications, when they are from a good organization or from a renowned organization, are provided by a renowned organization. That's where the structure is very meticulously curated.
Right.
Now, the idea behind is someone who has cleared the certification, and obviously the bar is really very high. It's 70%, it's 67%, so on and so forth. So the bar is really high, and that's where it kind of ensures that anyone who passes the examination has a very in-depth knowledge on a particular technology. Just imagine an example. Let's play a story game. So I am interviewing and you are my interviewer. So I kind of say that, hey, Yashwanta, I have CKA, CKAD, and I'm also completed CKS certification. That gives you an idea that, hey, this guy sort of has an idea of Kubernetes altogether. And when talk about CKA, the general administration, CKAD, the application development on Kubernetes, and CKS, hardening or tightening the security posture of the Kubernetes when you talk about entire bare metal architecture Kubernetes being implemented. So those are the different things. But there is also caveat. Just having the certifications will not, will does not fully accredit you to have those particular roles. The interview might revalidate you with a lot of questions as well. So while you're doing certification, it's very important that you also try to look back over the period of time, maybe after a certain interval, the content of it. We kind of tend to get those contents at a very short duration of time while we are preparing, and over the period of time we try to forget, since it's very rigorous and it's very huge in syllabus, right? So a better approach that I feel would be making short notes and revisiting those notes, and it will hardly take you half an hour to 1 hour to revisit those notes, since you have yourself created. Again, when you talk about a competitive market, it gives you an edge, so it's very important for advancing your career.
Right, I agree with you. To put my perspective here, so let's say Azure has the hundreds of services already. So if I want to be learning all of them, it would be like asking a boy to go in front of an ocean and see everything, right? So I do not know where to start and what exactly should I do.
Exactly.
Certification will actually guide us. So let's say you are looking for AZ 104, that is administrator associate. If you go in that path, you will be learning set of services and you will be expert on those areas. So this will be acting as a structured path for you to understand the services that are being offered by any cloud providers. So if you ask me if I want to get certified at the end of the day, I would say if you want, you have the budget, go for it. If you don't, set a goal that you are going to be certified on this, start that process, but learn the things and you can skip
Exactly. Right.
So,
Right.
yeah.
Can't agree to you more. On this particular thing, even if you're a student and you cannot afford, if you're a professional, even then, if you cannot afford for that, learning the content and telling the interviewer that, hey, something that I am accredited on, I know those content. You can ask me, you can probe your question. I'm
Right.
ready to answer. That
In fact,
adds immense value to you.
Right. In fact,
You
I
don't
did.
need to certify. Mhm.
In my first interview, I knew about AZ 104, but it was not kind of affordable for me. So what I told is that as soon as I join the company, within 1 month, I'll complete the certification. So
What better than that?
yeah, so
Exactly.
this is what I told, and they were pretty impressed by that. So that's how it.
Right. Also, I'll just share you my experience. So when I was in my college and I just started off, I was interviewing for this, and I knew that I knew that I am looking for a cloud-based role. That's where, but Azure is so huge. I just got my debit card swiped, and I had that free credits with me, but I did not knew how to get started.
Right.
Trust me, I cannot resonate more than what you said. So I just started off with the AZ 900. Give me a really good pictures. It kind of clusters those services into different categories, maybe
Right.
storage, compute,
1050.
identity, and right. You get mobile apps, web apps, so on and so forth, AI stack. So it gives you an idea that, hey, sort of, if I have to implement a mobile application or a web backend, that's where I'll go with the app service. If I have to develop maybe OCR based models, so I'll go with the computer vision based models that are offered. So gives me a very fair idea, because it's a structured content, right? If you just talk to a layman who's just starting off with Azure, it might be very overwhelming. It might be very overwhelming.
Right.
So yeah.
Let's move on to the next question. I think we discussed a lot on certification. I don't know how this will be taken. Let's see. So the next question is like, if you could solve one global issue with cloud and AI, what would it
Okay.
be, and how would you approach it?
This is a tough one. Okay, so the question is if I have to solve one
One
global
global
issue
issue with
with
the
cloud and
help of
AI.
cloud and AI, because
Okay.
AI is zero without cloud. I would say.
Mhm.
So how do you take this one? How do you approach this?
Okay. Okay. So maybe something that I am really, I mean, currently working upon as a personal project is and that's not a global issue, but it is a social issue. So something that I'm really currently working upon is how technology, how cloud and AI could be clubbed together and be used for to ease the daily work life of people with disabilities, people who are deaf, people who are blind. How can we enable technology for them? And how did it spark in me? So I was very inspired by a few people who were really working upon with the NGOs as well as organizations to educate these people. Now, I don't find them as underprivileged, but they can be privileged or they can leverage technology and they have much more capacity than us to learn things very quickly, and that's something that is my personal observation. So I don't kind of consider them underprivileged. It's just that there's a spark that needs to be I mean, ignited at their end by somebody or someone, and that's enough. So I'm kind of working with the Blind Association right now in New Delhi for this particular cause. We are kind of developing some applications that can help them easily identify objects to a certain extent, characters to a certain extent, and which can be easily spelled out. So this kind of helps them to read books, or maybe if they're at a grocery store, they can easily identify objects that they need to buy, so on and so forth. So that is one of the use cases that I'm currently working upon. Maybe one global issue that I would love to work upon, and I have a plan. Not sure when I'm starting off with it. So okay, so there's a huge impact by organizations on sustainable development. So how do we, fine tune our technology so that it does not also depletes the current environment that happens. You just imagine that these data centers these days, how much carbon emissions do they generate, right? And according to some studies, up till 2010 or 2020, okay, the 50% of the carbon emissions were just because of underutilized resources as well on those data centers. So a huge part of it was also underutilized. So how can we kind of optimize the resources that's running on those data centers? How can we, and just not about data centers, how can we also optimize our technologies? How can we optimize our or improve our devices so that it's also very eco friendly? So that's one aspect that I am really looking forward to work upon. Yeah.
I think I really like both of the problems. I did not even think about these two solutions. I think for the first one, I would like to contribute however possible from my end. Please let me know. Uh,
Definitely.
that's really great to learn that you're working on these two broad aspects of solutions that you're going to develop in future, and I would like to wish you all the best on that as well, apart from the work that you're doing. And lastly, I would like to know, like, I went through your profile and I learned that you are also enthusiastic about blockchain, AI, and cloud and all these technologies. So, if you could only choose one to work on the
Mhm.
for the rest of the 5 years, which one do you pick? Whether it would be a blockchain, cloud, or AI? I think this.
Okay, so if I have to pick up one among blockchain, cloud, and AI, interesting. Okay, I'm not again biased. I'll give a generic answer, but I'm not biased. Don't quote me for this. But maybe I'll choose cloud Why? And there's a very straightforward answer. Maybe you will also agree to it. Um, any solution that's available in the market or any solution that is in production these days cannot exist without cloud, right? There are still scenarios wherein organizations are using data centers, but it's not that is something that's scalable. It's not something that would make the cost also very effective, right? The ROI is not something that they realize upon. So anything that's today or in the future would be hosted would be on the cloud. And with the advent of technologies, with the advent of such innovations on cloud, I see everything that's there on the cloud. You just see AI. Till date, I used to build machine learning models on my local computer or maybe some servers. These days, you are utilizing cloud servers to train machine learning models. Not just that, for inferencing purpose as well. You are kind of sending your data to the cloud and it's getting the inference back to you, maybe on a mobile device or something like that. So, be it blockchain. Okay, now blockchain talks about decentralized systems. Imagine up to a certain extent, you can have blockchain being implemented at your, if in case of a bank server, okay, you would have at a local on-premise data center. But over the period of time, even the trend in technology, I'm seeing a lot of, those transactions are also being moved to cloud in a more secure posture. So I see cloud, AI, blockchain, everything is mingled up together, and cloud forms the infrastructure backend that hosts everything. So maybe I see it as and I do tell it to others as well. Cloud opportunities on cloud or job roles on cloud will never end. It's just that it will keep on evolving, but it will never end. And there are a lot of openings that's coming up in different forms. Maybe SRE, DevOps, platform engineer, cloud solution architect, a cloud engineer, so on and so forth. So it's never ending job, and for sure it's something that if you invest time on, you are deemed to get profit out of it or value out of it.
Agreed. Even we are running models on AI, on the cloud, the AI models. Also, I see a lot of services being developed for blockchain, particularly on Azure as well. So everything will be run on cloud in future, but not right now. A few companies use their on-prem servers to run, but in future that might happen as well. But really looking forward to see what in store for all of us. So
Definitely.
let's watch out for that. And to conclude it, so I have a very last question. I think I had taken more time of yours than expected. So what would you find the most rewarding about your role at Microsoft, and what keeps you motivated every day to work?
Okay. It seems that you are putting me in a difficult situation today with a lot of difficult questions. Okay. And this is for sure not a difficult question, but maybe I have to get myself more organized while answering. So, because there are a lot of talking points over here. I find the job at Microsoft very rewarding for sure. And there are definite reasons for that. Uh, just imagine yourself working at huge tech giants, Microsoft, Databricks, or any other tech giants. The way you get to interact with with the best minds across the globe, not only in your country but also best minds across the globe, is something that I personally find very helpful, and I kind of consider it very helpful. I leverage it to the most I can. I'm still kind of trying to expand my horizon, but I kind of leverage it to the most I can. That's number one. Second is you get to work and know the things which are most advanced. Okay. When I talk about advanced, something that is not enclosed or disclosed to the real to the exact world that you are living in. So a lot of nuanced technologies is something that you get to work upon before anyone else on the cloud are able to work upon. That's something, the other thing. And obviously, the technology that you work upon, the rewards that you get in terms of rewards, in terms of the experience, as well as the learnings that you get from by working at these tech giants, is something that is really helpful. And again, I'll tell you, the most uncomfortable thing that I get while I work at Microsoft is that I get very uncomfortable. I get very traumatized when I see people. Okay, so that's the growth mindset as well. You cannot stay. You cannot just stay with one technology. I mean, just it makes me so uncomfortable when I see that, hey, this guy has, or maybe someone else has done so many things on AI or something. It kind of provokes me as well that I should also get started on that. It's high time that I should have get started and I should have ramped up. So it kind of pushed me that, hey, Saurav, you have to do this, and I get it done. So yeah, that's the most rewarding part of my job
Right, right.
at Microsoft.
Can't agree more with you on that as well, because I get most of my inspiration by looking at your posts. So he's doing
Oh, don't tell me.
at a young age. He's doing a lot of things, like he's certified on Kubernetes and all. Kubernetes is something that is pretty hard for me, if you ask me. But you have done a great job there. So I take that motivation from you, and I started learning as well. So that is how it works in technology, and when we work in organizations like this. So that's a good part. With that, I think we can conclude this session. Thank you so much for your time. I think we had a great time talking about all the things that I had. In fact, when I asked my friends, I have a friend who works at Microsoft, and he is willing to join me on a podcast episode. So they gave me a few questions as well to ask. I mixed up. I asked. I think this video will be dedicated to them as well, who are going to watch it later. And thank you so much for
Amazing.
your time. Truly,
I mean, each time that I connect with you, Yashwant, I mean, it has been good time. So each time that I connect with you, there's a huge set of learning, and I take away a lot of learnings from this session as well. Thank you so much for inviting me.
thank you so much. It was your kind words. Thank you so much.